This Small Planet Earth by Miss Tina Schweikert. In 1995, Satya Sai Baba told Dr. John Heaslop, "This small planet Earth is very special. It is unique in the universe." This is a very important topic. It is of very great significance. Since the early stages of my adult life, I have been concerned with the fate of nature as it suffers under the weight of modern civilization. Neither my involvement in environmental organizations, my education in environmental science, nor my career in government environmental policy slackened the dread I felt that nothing could stop the inevitable disordering of Earth's natural systems and the negative impacts of this on all beings, including ourselves. My deepest sense was that real and lasting change could only occur with a spiritual transformation resulting in a new worldview. I felt that if we understood that all of nature embodies the same divine spirit and all are interdependent and connected, it would be wrong to treat other beings, such as trees, merely as objects to meet our self-interested desires. But until our morals became grounded in such a belief, there could be no fundamental change. Any actions would be no more than band-aid solutions. Major surgery is what is in order. Sai Baba's descent into my life in 1995 provided the ultimate hope and inspiration that such a spiritual revolution could indeed occur, even in America. In his 3rd March 1965 discourse, Swami explained, "Many hesitate to believe that things will improve, that life will be happy for all and full of joy, and that the golden age will recur. Let me assure you that this divine form embodying righteousness, Dharma Swarupa, has not come in vain. It will succeed in averting the crisis that has come upon humanity." Years later, we have come closer to the brink of environmental catastrophe, but we have also come closer to the fulfillment of the Avatar's divine mission, in all respects. Obstacles appear most formidable before victory is gained, but, as Swami says in the Ramkatha Rasa Vahini, Dharma has to win. Victory is the inevitable concomitant of righteousness. The era of Satya Sai Baba's incarnation has been a time of incredible witnessing. We have witnessed a major world war with its ultimate devastating end, the dropping of the first atomic bomb and then another. We have seen an explosion in the manufacturing and distribution of goods worldwide, with its dramatic looting of nature's bounty. We have witnessed the first human-caused mass extinction of flora and fauna. Although this has been an age of great achievements, it has also been an age of great human selfishness. Swami tells us, despite the striking progress in the fields of science and technology, there has been deterioration in morals and social behavior because of the growth of selfishness. Self-interest is predominant in every action. Divine Discourse, 24th June 1989. The Western world, especially the United States of America, has placed demands on people and nature in the name of economic growth and progress. In the years following World War II, we intensively cut vast areas of ancient forests. The trees were felled indiscriminately as objects to provide lumber for building homes for a booming population. They were felled in the name of progress and motivated by the money to be gained. Swami says we can no longer afford to do this, because there is deforestation to an alarming extent. The extent of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has considerably increased. Therefore, the remedy for this situation is intensive afforestation, growing more trees everywhere and protecting the existing trees without destroying them for other purposes. Divine Discourse, 21st January 1993. These magnificent old trees, which had given so much to the atmosphere, soil, birds, mammals, and humans, were not prayed to before the chainsaws began cutting. They were not asked for permission, as the indigenous people of this land, USA, would have done. No offerings were left in their place, and no words of gratitude were spoken. Swami explains that nature is not anyone's private property. It belongs to God. Divine Discourse, 21st June 1989. The indigenous people understood and lived this precept. The indigenous people have long lived the belief expressed by Swami that nature is the vesture of God. Divine Discourse, 10th February 1990. God is in every creature. All are related and interconnected. All aspects of creation are endowed with spirit and have different roles to perform, as bestowed by the Creator. A feeling of sadness creeps over me as I consider what humanity has done to creation and the people who cared for it so well, in such a short time. They lived as caretakers, understanding that land does not belong to any one person, it belongs to all. One can no more own land than one can own a piece of the sky or their mother. In fact, we have only responsibilities, not rights, to use the land well with care. Swami says, it is because nature ceaselessly performs its duty that the world is able to derive so many sacred benefits. The secret and mystery of creation lies in the due performance of one's duty with earnestness and sincerity. Divine Discourse, 28 May 1990. Many elders of America's remaining indigenous cultures continue to carry the light and wisdom of their ancestors. Swami tells us, Prakriti, nature, is in essence divinity itself. All this is divine. So, tread softly, use reverentially, and utilize gratefully. Divine Discourse, 15th October 1966. Are we heeding Swami's advice? When it comes to addressing the environmental crisis, we still put much of our faith in science and technology, the frontier America turned to when new territories of land ran out. But unbridled science and technology have been largely to blame for our present state of affairs. Science does not yet account for the whole of nature. It cannot measure the divine spirit, therefore, science does not acknowledge its existence. Swami explains that the difference lies in whether one places faith in creation or the Creator. The scientist is the one who inquires into the nature of creation. The saint is the one who seeks to know the Creator. Once you understand the Creator, you can understand the whole of creation. Divine Discourse, 6th May 1988. Nonetheless, science and technology of the 20th and 21st centuries have proceeded at an ever-quickening pace without adequate thought of its consequences. Swami warned Professor Kasturi, as recorded in the book, Loving God, that science was robbing Prakriti, nature, from her master, exploiting nature and proud that it has conquered her. America has fostered many great voices that have warned about the indiscriminate development of science. Still, the drums of economic growth and the belief in more is better drown them out. Consider the poetry and prose of just a few such passionate Americans, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, John Muir, Black Elk, John Burroughs, Aldo Leopold, Chief Joseph, Robert Frost, Rachel Carson, Helen Caldecott, Winona LaDuke, and Wendell Berry, or the warnings of scientists such as George Perkins Marsh, Albert Einstein, Linus and Eva Pauling, or James Hunsey. The invasive weeds of selfishness, greed, and exploitation that have taken root cannot thrive for long. Swami's divine loving hand will soften the soil and loosen their grip. He can then plant a new seed, but we must help by fostering it with our dharmic behavior and watering it with our commitment to truth, love, non-violence, and peace. Western-based science and technology will transform mankind to imbibe a humbler spirit, which understands nature is divine and belongs to God, not man. Swami says, it is only when science is linked to spirituality that the results of science can be fully harnessed for the good and elevation of mankind. Divine Discourse, 26th January, 1985. When we truly understand the universal law that all are related, not separate, all are interdependent, not independent, all are divine, not merely matter, and that cooperation yields far better results than competition, then we will realize we have arrived. Nature works through a loving interdependency, and the so-called survival of the fittest is ultimately the survival of those seeking unity. Swami provides the ultimate hope that this worldview can be re-established and that modern humankind will deserve that name. Swami tells us that these modern times especially call for restraints, as recorded by Professor Anil Kumar in the book, Pearls of Wisdom 2, Modernity, means making use of natural resources in a limited way, without disfiguring them or without killing them altogether. Although humans have generally strayed further and further from the dharmic path, he has patiently advised and consoled all who ask and would listen. Nature is more progressive than man, and to protect nature, man has to make use of it within limits. When man tampers with nature recklessly, it reacts adversely, and trouble arises. In order to protect nature, man has to practice sealing on desires. Divine Discourse, 21st January, 1993. This hard-hitting message constitutes the core of Swami's advice on nature to his followers. If we are to be part of fulfilling his divine mission, it is up to us to follow his message implicitly and sincerely. Dearest Swami, your carbon footprint is ever so slight, but your divine footprint covers all. May our steps match yours, and may our hearts expand to embrace all creation so that we may do as you so lovingly ask us to, namely, promote love, sympathy, and compassion toward all beings. God is present in every one of them. It is your duty to revere God in each of them. Divine Discourse, March 1972. Miss Tina Schweikert.